We're back, the Porsche is gone, and this is exactly what happened. We're back. It's our first video for 2023. Well, with us in it, we did have a meet video in there. But yes, we've had a bit of a delayed start to 2023. That hasn't been by our choosing. No. It's been by the Stuttgart choosing, aka the Porsche decided it had not been done throwing curveballs at us. I can English. So basically we're going to catch you up with exactly what happened with the Porsche, how much money we made, or didn't make in this case, and what our budget is like now and to try and get back up there, what our strategies are for 2023. But last time we left off, we'd taken the Porsche to the dealership. The dealership had fixed quite a lot of things, but it still came back with the hybrid fault kind of. So basically, yeah, it was something to do with the secondary air injection system, which basically operates the changing of the petrol engine to the hybrid engine and so forth. So the petrol engine worked perfectly, the hybrid engine worked perfectly. It was just that changeover didn't. So that's where we left off. We actually put it through the auctions before Christmas because at this point we had, I think at that stage it was like $500 left. Yeah. Something like that. And basically it wasn't enough to obviously get Porsche to try and figure it out. It wasn't enough to, if we had the radio problem, if we had bought the radio problem, it meant we pretty much couldn't fix the car. So basically we put it through the auction thing and look, if we can just try and get rid of it, like we might take a little bit of a hit, but it means we get to start the new year fresh and we can try and like really ram home some profit. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. It didn't sell.
We did put a reserve just in case it sells for, like $5,000 and we just lose all of our money.
Which was good because when we put it through the auctions, we're not blaming the auctions, but because the radio was on a sequence of start up, die, they were under the assumption that the entire car had electrical problems. So they listed it as such, which is why we believe the car didn't sell. So we took the car then back out of the auctions and thought, look, we're having to take up, at this point it was like between, I think it was like around New Year, or like start of January, we took it out of the auctions. And then we pretty much was just like, look, let's have another crack at trying to fix this engagement problem, the secondary air injection system. I pulled it apart. The air pump was fine, couldn't find any leaks. We didn't have, obviously, the proper way to test this would be to get a smoke machine, completely smoke all the vacuum lines and see if there's any leaks. We're not mechanics, we don't have that. So we had to do a visual inspection, check the secondary air injection pump was working fine. It hadn't destroyed itself, which is a common problem, which is what Porsche, their best guess was without obviously looking into it too much. So we had a look at that, it wasn't that. So we thought, look, that is a rabbit hole that we could go down and we could just blow our money and then that would be it. So what do we do instead?
We put them back at the auctions, did we? No.
I drove 4 or 5 hours to buy a second-hand Porsche radio that wasn't in the constant boot up, boot down kind of process. Morgan again still hasn't traveled for a car.
I was busy.
So yes, we grabbed a used Porsche radio, ripped that out, put that back in. That solved the issue of it booting up and booting down and that constant cycle. It was fully working. So then we put it back through the auctions. And obviously this time they didn't list that it had electrical issues and the car sold. I'll grab the trusty notes.
And this second time we put it up as well,
No reserve.
we're like, no reserve, let's just, whatever it is.
Because at this point, it was what? Almost the end of January.
Yeah.
And we were like, we need, otherwise it's just going to keep dragging on, keep dragging on.
And as well, what else do we do, right? We tried selling it, on just your Facebook and Gumtree kind of stuff in it.
And it's pretty obvious why people wouldn't have been interested.
Yeah.
It had issues. So our starting budget when we bought the Porsche was $27,836. Now we bought the Porsche for $24,500, which I thought was an insane buy because the car's worth about 40 grand.
Yep.
So I was thinking, that's good. The only gamble was, do we have enough money to fix it, register it, and get it sold? In this case, turns out we didn't. So after buying it, the car hadn't been serviced. It was misfiring quite badly. It was very rough. It was very, very rough. So we had to get oil filter, air filter, new spark plugs. So the filters were $55.39. Morgan doesn't look at that. Spark plugs were $131.94. We'll round that up to $132. The oil was $110. The battery, whilst we were going through and trying to diagnose what the issues were after we'd finished the misfiring, one constant thing that kept coming up when we were searching the problems was it's an issue with a battery that's going flat. We did have a look at the battery. It's actually sitting right down in front of me. The battery was like 9 years old or something. I'm pretty sure it's the original battery from the car. So it's probably over that 10 years old or so. So it definitely needed a new battery, and we were hoping that that would fix our electrical problems. That battery was not cheap. It had to be a special stop-start hybrid battery. So that was $639 for that battery, and it did nothing. It didn't fix anything. And then we had the radio. After all the problems, sending it through the auctions, bringing it back. Radio was $300. We then obviously roadworthied it and it was registered. That's how we managed to do the review. The roadworthy was $200 for the two. Rego was $955.90. And then we had Porsche Center Gold Coast. So they were actually really helpful. They were really nice. And they did a really good job, to be honest, with what, we didn't tell them we didn't have much budget, but we kind of alluded to the fact that we'd like it as cheap as possible. So to send the Porsche to them, it was $803.
Yep. And that was for a whole day as well.
That was a whole day. So, I think it was 4 or 5 hours of diagnosis, which, so it is what it is. And then we had to pay for fuel over the course of owning it, which came to $96.97 or $97. All up, it might be a little bit different for Morgan because he doesn't include the cents, but $27,792. So we had like 40 or 50 bucks left. So we were completely dry at that point. We did not have any more money. We did have some upsides though. We sold the Skyline intercooler piping. I think I mentioned that in the previous video for $140. That was an injection. Morgan managed to sell some of the extra parts he had left over from his MX-5. So that was a braided brake line kit for $150 and a tie rod end for $20. We had a tiny little bit of budget left.
And we've still got a bunch of other stuff for the MX-5 that I'm still trying to sell, but that's, I think, over the course of the next maybe year or so, it might just eventually.
And to be honest, what, like $200-300 worth of parts, really?
Yeah, and as well, there's a couple parts that I don't actually know if I'll sell. They're like parts that you buy for 10-20 bucks. So like, there's not much point in actually selling it, but
yeah. So yes, we're all in the car just under $27,800. What did we sell it for? It wasn't that. It was 23,000. So let me just pull it up. Morgan, cut here. We sold it for $23,350 after all the auction fees. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. We lost $4,000 or so.
Now, another thing as well that we need to mention as well, the reason you're thinking we fixed, the electrical problem, it still had the hybrid error.
Yeah.
So it's not going to go for 40 grand.
No.
And I think that's mainly why
Yeah.
it's sold for that much at the auctions.
Which is annoying because it's not the batteries in the hybrid motor is fine, the petrol motor is fine, it's the engagement. But anyway, also in there was we had to purchase 2 permits to drive the Cayenne because we have to deregister the Cayenne when you get to the, when you're driving the auctions, you deregister it, it goes to the auctions. Because we had to pull it out, we had to get a permit to drive it home. There's no sense in us re-registering the car. And then we had to get a permit back. So each permit was $73.42. So there was 2 of those, so add that to the total. But yeah, so we lost a bit of money. But positives, we don't have it anymore. And we have $23,812 to try and kickstart this year and make money.
Now, we've already talked a little bit.
A
lot of it, yeah. Coming into this year, I think we're going to change up the strategy just a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that's mainly because the car market at the moment.
And it's pretty much what everyone has said to us that's commented is quantity over the car.
Yep.
So our idea was we want something cool to show you guys. And you guys circled and said, you know what's cooler? You're not losing money. So what we're going to do is at least at the moment, we're just going to try and find good deals on a cheap-ish car and just bang them out quickly. We're not going to stick to one car at a time. We're going to, if the deal pops up and we've got the money, it'll be 2, 3, I don't know, maybe 4. Maybe we might cap it there. That we're getting
4
a bit
at
crazy.
a time.
But look, if it's there, we can make money. We know it's a sound, as sound as can be. Go for it. And we'll see what happens when we end up at the end of the year. Well, this time next year.
Yep.
Because, previously it was more, besides the challenge, it was just, let's just get the next car and the next car and just try and do it that way. But then we're putting, risking 100%. Whereas this, we're kind of diversifying, or not diversifying, but we're spreading the risk, but we're also spreading the money. So if one of these cars that we buy needs a bit more money and attention, that'll then go away. But it's all pretty self-explanatory. You guys will understand all that. So that's what we're going to be doing. That's what happened to the Porsche. We'll be going to the auctions. God, it's been so long since we've been to the auctions. We'll be trying to find some cars, and yeah.
Now, one thing as well, I think I'll just say as well, which some of you might be thinking, and we had a couple people that we know talked about as well, in that for the Porsche fix, for the hybrid error, it may have only costed, say, like $1,000 or less than $1,000 potentially, and then we could have sold it for 40 grand. I think it was so hard, but we had to stick to the challenge and stay true to,
we don't want to. Yeah, we don't want to go, we started with this much and ended with, the Lambo, but we had to put in money. This is, we could have put in money, got it fixed, and got profit, but it's not in the spirit of the challenge.
And we tried everything, like selling all the parts and stuff like that, but it just, in the end,
it is what it is.
Yep.
I learned a valuable lesson, and that is don't overextend yourself, which is exactly what we did.
I think that's also what I learned though when I bought the MX-5 as well.
Don't overextend yourself in labor.
Yep.
So time is money and money is money.
And don't, what do you call it? Overestimate your abilities,
I don't think it was overestimation of abilities. I reckon I could fix it. We just ran out of money. Because we all had to buy a smoke machine.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know how expensive they are, but I'm assuming it was more than the $40 we had left over. But yes, so thanks heaps for watching. Thanks for being patient and staying with us, and I hope you enjoyed the update. Let us know, what should we have a look at? What should we try and get into? Keeping in mind that we are now kind of refocusing ourselves at something on the cheaper side of things, your first cars, your things that transact frequently enough. Yeah, that's the idea. But thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Until then, bye for now.